I was thinking about this earlier today when we were rewatching the UFC Qatar card in Ashley's basement at the Friendsgiving. Watching the main event with her dad was so funny because like we got down there right when the first round was starting. I remember Dan Hooker landed like a nice head kick early, and he's like, "All right, Hooker." He's like, you could tell like he was starting to drink the Kool-Aid that Hooker might be able to pull off the upset. And I just remember me and you it was so dark down there, but I just know me and you looked at each other like, let's just not talk.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was really fun. He's got a nice setup down there for the UFC, that's for sure. But hey, UFC Qatar is in the books. 2 huge fights in the co-main and main event. This whole card was really good, honestly. So many good knockouts. Volkan Ozdemir with his knockout. Waldo Cortez Acosta. How about the run that guy's on?
I think that honestly, that's something is like genuinely worth having conversation. Like this guy might be here to help save the heavyweight division.
It's crazy because people were sleeping on him for a while, and then all of a sudden he's just gone on this crazy run lately, and it's just, hey, I'll take it, man. We need more of this at heavyweight. So
yeah, I mean, just to be as active like that at heavyweight and then getting finishes is seriously something that UFC needs to really like put under a microscope and genuinely consider giving him like a serious push.
I think they should. I think it'd be a good idea. They got enough problems at heavyweight, man. They need to find a solution, and that might be one of them. But, dude, did you hear about that one fighter? I think it was a Cage Warriors champion who came over to Qatar, took a risk because there were 3 welterweight fights, so he basically was coming in hoping that he could be a backup if something went wrong with one of those fights. And I don't think it ultimately did, so I kind of feel bad for the guy because he was like, I put my next 3 months' rent up for this trip, and I was like, oh no. Yeah. But I hope Cage Warriors set this guy up.
That the UFC will pay for his fight if they want him to fill a spot on a card.
I mean, I get the thought. He's probably trying to show like initiative, and like maybe the UFC will see that and give him a chance. I mean, he's a Cage Warriors champion, so it's not like it's not that out of the realm of the possibilities. But for him to risk homelessness to do it, I'm hoping that he had something set up in the meantime, like maybe living at the gym or maybe Cage Warriors helped him out a little bit. But man, I was like, ooh, that risk didn't pay off.
Yeah, no.
But hey, we got bigger stories to get into. Sadly for him, hopefully he'll be in the UFC at some point because that'd be kind of cool. You gotta admit you gotta have balls to do that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know I wouldn't be sacrificing my home to fight in the UFC, but then again, this is why we're sitting here talking about it and why we're not in it. But you're gonna be fighting at Knucklemania pretty soon, right?
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Oh damn, we missed your tryouts. We're recording this at 5 p.m. On the 23rd. So yeah, I think the tryouts were at 3 or something in Philly. So it looks like Tiz will not be fighting on the Knucklemania card.
Well, we we've got connections with BKFC now. We can pull a couple strings and get me on there.
Are you going to risk your next 3 months' rent to go drive down a couple of hours to Philly? It's not really the same ballpark as traveling from England to Qatar, but hey.
For the love of the game.
You just gotta, that'd be funny. You just post a video on our Instagram. My name's Evan Ortiz. I've had no professional fights. But I'm here in Philadelphia hoping that one of these fights fall through at BKFC's Knucklemania. I want to fight. I'm here to fight. And then you get a fight and you get knocked down in 30 seconds because you're fighting a pro boxer. But, hey, got to have ambition.
Yeah.
All right, let's get
thoughts in my head now. So
yeah, hey, the idea is there. It's going to be funny like the week before when I'm recording a podcast and it's a solo pod. And you know how some of the times when I do a solo episode, I'll make a joke about where you are. I'll be like, hey, Tiz is in Philadelphia. He's fighting in BKFC in a week. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's funny. He's probably just at work or something. Meanwhile, you're down in Philly training.
It's actually happened. Yep.
God, that would be so insane for this channel.
Tiz is dealing with a shattered orbital right now.
Tiz will not be on the pod for the next 5 weeks. The left side of his head is the size of a watermelon. But, oh man, Poor
Well,
BKFC
you know what?
Tiz.
We could talk about someone's head who actually looked like he
Yeah, I
was
was gonna
becoming a
say
watermelon.
Dan
Yeah.
Hooker had a bit of a knot on his head, but let's talk about this main event, man. So for those who didn't see it, Arman Tsarukyan beats Dan Hooker in round two. Dominant win, beautiful arm triangle choke from full mount to get the win there. I
Oh
mean,
my.
my first impression was just Tsarukyan's grappling is just top notch, and like one thing that I noticed too is how confident Tsarukyan was on the ground because Dan Hooker did have him in some like pretty tough positions, but the way he was able to like effortlessly scramble out of it, like I was really impressed by that because especially that guillotine, it was crazy because when he scrambled, he turns his back to Hooker, and I'm thinking in my head as I was like rewatching, I'm like, oh my God, Dan, let go of the choke because the choke was the only thing. He had the body triangle, so he could have just let go of the choke and went for the rear naked, but he didn't, and then Arman ends up on top. That was a big scramble and ultimately really led to the end of the fight when you really think about it. So, yeah, I was just really impressed with Arman's grappling and his confidence in it because it seemed like he didn't have much respect for Dan Hooker's jiu-jitsu in this one, and I guess why would he after a performance like that? But that was awesome in my opinion.
That was a scary fucking performance, dude. I think genuinely, like for Arman Sarukian to not fight for over a year, and I know Dan Hooker also. It's been more than a year since his last fight, and he had the surgery and all. But I mean, Arman Sarukian is like one of these guys who feels like he can just get off, like literally just roll right out of bed, and he can slap on slap on an arm triangle, whatever it might be, head and arm choke, and get a freaking submission victory over a, a genuinely good ranked opponent. And it's not like obviously he was already well in line to get the title shot, but you can't just, especially after what happened when he was initially gonna fight for the title. Dana obviously not happy about that. So
Remember our theory about that? Ate too much
oh
Dave's hot
yeah.
chicken
Oh,
and
did that? See,
shit himself.
that's how long it's been. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was
It's like,
January. It was the first pay-per-view of the year. Then that happened.
yeah, yeah.
Good
So he
times.
finally cleared that all out of his system. Um,
He sticks with
his
KFC
stomach
now.
feels okay now.
Yeah, you can't tell the UFC that though because of the Dave sponsor, but Arman's a KFC guy and we all know it. He's not a Popeyes guy though. Nobody likes Popeyes.
Yeah, we can read that out. That's fine. Yeah, I don't think Ilya should be overlooking this guy pretty much. Um, he's yeah he looks like he hasn't missed a beat whatsoever. Um, I mean why I say it's scary because it's like he's already so skilled technically. Um, obviously the jujitsu is world class, but it was the tenaciousness I think just putting that just wanting to like just actually hurt Dan Hooker and not just get his hand raised by any however it might come. He actually went in there to hurt Dan Hooker, um, prove that everyone ranked beneath him is capable of being beat the same way he just beat Dan Hooker. So now all that's left to see is him face the only guy who's ranked above him, and I just think it doesn't get much easier than booking Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan.
I mean, they gotta
Nice.
make that fight. It's so weird that we're living in a world where Paddy Pimblett actually has a chance of passing Arman to get that shot. We can't have that happen.
See, like, cause imagine this was Paddy instead of Dan Hooker. Like, I mean, I don't think Paddy gets even out of the first round if this is Paddy versus Arman Tsarukyan. Like,
I don't know about that because stylistically, Paddy's a lot better on the ground than Dan Hooker is. But I do agree with you. Arman's the best of the contenders. Like, no matter what you want to think of, like hypothetical matchups, Arman earned that title shot again with this win. Like Dan Hooker was on a nice little run himself, and now Arman gets an easy victory over him. For lack of a better word. I just think that this is the obvious fight to make at this point. And, Paddy Pimblett, the conversation's going to be there just because of how big of a name he is. And you have to wonder if they'll make that fight because they want to have like a big fight to start the Paramount deal. But man, I think fans would probably riot if Arman Tsarukyan's robbed of a title shot in this situation. Because to have a win like that after the layoff, he was already going to be fighting for the title. I think it's an obvious fight to make. So hopefully the UFC actually does it. Because I think it'd be fun. Like, when you think of the matchup itself, Topuria on the feet, I think, is almost unbeatable at lightweight. But on the ground, I don't know how that goes with him and Tsarukyan. Because Ilya's a really good grappler, but Arman is so technical on the ground. He's good, like, off of his back and on top. So there's really nowhere where Ilya can take, like, a little rest even on the ground. And, think about it. Remember when Tsarukyan fought Oliveira? That armbar that he was in? Like, this dude's the truth on the ground.
It's just, I think Arman has a very good sense, and I don't know if this is part of what he trains or his coaches and his team kind of preach, in that gym, but I think he has when he does have top control and he does have, he's got, for instance, he had Dan Hooker's arm and he was pinning down Dan Hooker's arm, just to prevent any sort of defense from Dan Hooker and just maintain the top control and eventually pass into eventually lock in the arm choke. But I think what I was saying is I think they something to do with like joint manipulation and just kind of like figuring out how to just exploit in a way, just to make sure that just any sort of defense that his opponent might try to use to get him off of them. I think he has just a really good understanding and just to what he has to do, what he needs to attack to keep them on the ground and maintain the top control. So.
Yeah, and even like besides that too, like just the strength that he was showing. I remember me and you were talking yesterday about how like he didn't even have to step over to finish that arm triangle. Like, the squeeze you have to just be in just full mount, and like he's basically just doing that with his shoulder strength. Like there's no other leverage really that he's able to get from like just full mount like that. Because you've seen plenty of arm triangles when they hop over. That seems like when it's done. And when I was watching that the first time, I was like, man, like, is he going to hop over? Is he just going to try and squeeze? And then you see Dan Hooker start to tap, and it's like, oh, my God, that was pretty quick. But that was really exciting. Like, that was a type of win that he needed because the conversation was starting to steer in other directions when it comes to that lightweight title shot. And I think that Arman really just stamped his ticket for that. And I hope that they give the shot to him because he does deserve it. So he's always deserved it. Yeah. I mean, he deserved it before Ilya was even champion. So that's just, we'll see how that goes. But we got to talk about another division's title picture, too, that was heavily involved with this card, and that's the welterweight division. What's up, guys? Sorry to interrupt the podcast real quick, but we have a message for you guys.
If you enjoy her Hamburg's content, you want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like on the videos, all sorts of fight content as much as possible, podcasts, interviews, vlogs. We have it all over here, so thank you. Appreciate it.
We appreciate you, and like he said, please subscribe. And now, back to the show. Garry narrowly defeats Belal Muhammad, even though there were a couple of 30-27 scorecards.
Yeah. Hold on. What'd you make it like? I mean, it's really easy to ask what someone might think of something that Ian Machado Garry says, because Ian Machado Garry says a lot. But he's proven that he has the tendency to back it up. But this time around with Belal Muhammad, he was just claiming that he's just levels better than him, like way above him. And this fight didn't prove that, despite getting the win.
Belal gave him a tough fight. And I think Belal deserves a lot of credit for that because Ian Machado Garry has looked pretty unbeatable at welterweight at certain points, especially lately. Really, the Shavkat fight was the only fight that's tested him lately. And I guess maybe the tail end of the Prates fight. But, before that, he was dominating for 24 minutes. in this fight, it seemed like Bilal had a good game plan to kind of cut off the cage and not let him bounce around from a distance. But the thing is, Ian Garry's movement is so good that he wasn't able to fully prevent that. But there were points where Bilal was able to cut off the cage, land a few punches, get him in the clinch up against the cage. He was able to do some damage there. He didn't seem to do too well when it came to getting takedowns, so Machado Garry's takedown defense has to be commended for this. But it was a closer fight than Ian anticipated, I think. That's for sure.
I thought it was a good display of Muay Thai, and I mean, how that fares against Islam Makhachev is anyone's guess, but if he were to, let's say he were to get the title shot tomorrow and this fight is going to happen next, I think, if you want to, if that's the way it's got to be, you got to get up close and personal. You got to stare down the barrel of wherever you want to hit Islam. Do you think you're gonna knock him down, and just make it rough and nasty and lots of clinching, up against the fence and whatnot? Then
well, if that's the fight it's gonna be for Ian Machado Garry versus Islam Makhachev, I don't think he does very well. Like, his takedown defense is going to be tested if they get in the clinch up against the cage. Because Bilal, he's a good wrestler, but Islam Makhachev, I mean, we just saw it. He's on another level at 170. This looks like the most dangerous version of Islam that we've really seen. Because Jack Della Maddalena had nothing for him. And I just haven't seen enough from Ian Garry to think that it would go any differently for him. Especially when you think about all the other contenders at welterweight right now. I still think Kamaru Usman's ahead of him when it comes to getting a title shot. I think Morales should be ahead of him. And plus, I think Morales gives Islam a tougher fight, as I said last week. But, a lot's going on right now at welterweight.
Yeah, it's definitely Pratas and Morales and ahead in the
I don't know about Pratas, but Pratas is tough, right? Because he gets the win over Leon Edwards, and that's a huge win. But Ian Garry beat him pretty badly in that fight. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. Like, who knows how the UFC views it? But
because we know that Ian Machado Garry has the stamina and the cardio to last 5 rounds. Now, whether he can do that with Islam Makhachev, not to say, like, obviously I think he'd be able to last 5 rounds, and like, whether or not he's getting dominated to all 5, but if he isn't able to, then Islam's just going to finish him anyway. So that's kind of how I look at it.
It's just
I think that's a guy that should he not get fit, like Islam find a way to finish him, like he'll be able to last all 5 rounds and maybe make it a close enough fight.
I mean, I feel like it's a similar fight to the JDM one. But I think Ian has better takedown defense and he's slicker on the feet. But I feel like Islam is just way too good at 170. He's so in control with everything in the cage. And like, I thought this was funny. Last week, I posted this one short about Michael Morales being the toughest fight for Islam. And someone said in the comments something along the lines of like, oh, we've heard this before, like, insert name will be the toughest fight for the dominant champion. And I literally said back to the guy, I'm like, hey, I'm not saying Michael Morales would win. I'm just saying he's got to fight somebody.
Yeah.
And, like, what are you going to do? Like, not have him defend the title? Like, yeah, it might be a completely stupid conversation to have if someone could beat the guy, but you got to have the talk or else no one's going to be fighting him. And, like, some people might be listening to this and thinking, like, oh, Ian Garry has no chance. I mean, even I think of Ian Garry versus Islam Makhachev, and I don't see it going that well for him. But it's like, Ian Garry just beat a former champion. He's on a good run himself. He's only lost to Shavkat, and that was a great fight. Like, people forget how close that was.
Look, like, that's you made the point right there. Islam still has to fight somebody. He still has to defend the belt.
Because we're talking in hypotheticals,
Exactly, because we very much understand that he's just on a different tier than everybody else.
Still got to prove it, though. Like, we're saying that. He's still technically
you see the guy live in the flesh in person defend the belt. It does, like, it really does, like, open your eyes even more than they already were open. And that was over a year ago for us. And now we're here, and he's he's the champ of a new division, and it feels like the same song and dance, anyways. Yeah. So we're here to still put it out into the vortex that there's someone's got to fight him, and whoever does get that opportunity,
God
there's
help
still
him.
a chance.
God help him.
I was trying to be nice and feel like maybe there's still a chance that they can pull it off, but yeah, it's in God's hands at that point. It really is.
Yeah, I remember Joe Rogan was talking about a quote that Khabib had before he was fighting Conor, and he said that he was gonna drown him in the oceans of Allah so he can find himself. I'm like, that's how these guys are thinking, man.
I mean, that's what I was about to say. Is just how grueling training for a professional fight already must be. But let alone like when these guys are training to fight a Dagestani guy, but now you're fighting the Dagestani guy that is Islam Makhachev. Like, it just has to be the most mentally challenging training camp anybody has to go through, knowing the belt's on the line as well. Like, I understand, like, JDM was the one defending the belt, and just how the fight went. I mean, he claimed even before, obviously, that he feels he's the better martial artist and probably felt really good on the feet as long as he was touching up Islam, and Islam's hands were up. Then JDM definitely felt like he had a legit chance, but that takedown is always going to be there, and it was there in that fight. So whoever's next, like, I mean, man, that's going to be one tough goddamn camp for them to go through.
It's just tough because when you fight Islam, you're fighting Islam's fight. Like, it's tough to fight your own fight against a guy like that because you have to be so worried about that takedown. And Ian Garry, I think he fights similarly to Jack Della Maddalena, but like at the same time, it's a bit of a different style because Jack is very forward and in your face. Ian's more slick on the outside. Might be able to help him a bit versus Islam because he's able to fight a little better backing up. But the thing is, if Islam cuts the cage off and then shoots in for a takedown, and then even if he doesn't get the takedown, he still has him up against the cage, and Islam's got trips, throws, like, it's just a whole different ballgame when you're fighting a guy like that. And that's why, Ian Garry gets the win over Belal Muhammad, and he looked good at certain points, but
yeah,
if he gets in those positions that Belal put him in against Islam Makhachev, I really don't think it's going to go as well.
And the fact that Islam doesn't have to go through such a grueling weight cut like he did with 155. I mean, geez.
I mean, this feels like when Pereira went up to 205, and we're like, how is he not fighting at this weight class the whole time?
Yeah, I mean, it's terrifying. It's like it really does feel like these guys are just made in a lab and just straight up I mean, they pretty much were born to do this. I mean, these Dagestani children are training at freaking 5 years old.
Yeah. It's a different discipline over there, man. It's not the same as it is here in the U.S., that's for sure. These people aren't... We've been around enough fighters, and like seeing some people not be as disciplined as those guys, that's for sure. But it was still impressive for Ian Garry to get the win. I mean, Bilal's a real threat in that division, whether people want to admit that or not. He's still one of the best welterweights on the planet. Mm-hmm. Ian Garry gets through him. I mean, the thing is, Ian Garry, he doesn't shy away from fighting. There's a lot of people who would want to sit on their rankings, and it's like he took that fight versus Prates, takes this fight versus Belal Muhammad. He's trying to win his way to a title shot, and he's been doing it. So as long as no one else gets in his way. But that's the thing right now at welterweight, it's so crowded with, Morales, Usman, Prates, Shavkat when he comes back, and now Ian Garry is in there as well. It's crowded, so we're gonna have to see what happens next there. But I don't know if this win was enough for him. But nonetheless, good win over a former champ for the Irishman. Do you see him and Hamzat get into that little scuffle backstage? What the hell is that? That was a weird thing. I don't know who to like blame for that.
That was something, yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't think Ian Garry was trying to be fake with him, and I feel like I've given Ian Garry some shit sometimes on this channel, but like it seemed like he was trying to congratulate Arman, said hi to Hamza, you know, he didn't even really talk shit to him, and then all of a sudden when the security got between them, Hamza just starts pushing him. And it's just like, all right, dude, like, you know, I'm just trying to congratulate you both, but all right, you want to take the story away from your friend here who just got a big win. I don't know, I'm siding with Ian on this one. But who the hell knows? That was just a weird thing that I remember seeing afterwards. I was like, damn, the storyline's coming after the fights. But, yeah, I don't know. That was an interesting night of fights, though. I mean, a lot of highlights, a lot of big wins for a lot of people. So it was a fun card. Next week, there is no UFC, sadly, Thanksgiving week. So we will not be here. We're finally going to be taking a nice little week off, which is, I feel like, much needed. And then we'll be back December 7th to break down the final UFC pay-per-view of the year. That's going to be a fun one. We got Merab versus Petr Yan, Pantoja versus Joshua Van. Some other good fights sprinkled on there, too. So we will see y'all then.
Feel just like a superstar. Doing all these drugs, I don't think I'm gonna see tomorrow. Living fast, brand new dash up in a foreign car. It's the type of shit that you be doing when you going hard.